Claire stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling window of her fiance's penthouse, the city lights below shimmering like a river of stars, and felt the hollow echo of her own heartbeat. Everything seemed perfect. Crystal chandeliers casting a golden glow across the marble floors, her guests laughing and sipping champagne, the music swelling gently in the background. But beneath the glittering surface, a storm had already begun to rage. Earlier that evening, in the quiet solitude of his study, she had stumbled upon something she could never unsee. A hidden folder on Ethan's laptop, a folder filled with damning emails detailing how he had siphoned millions from his late father's charitable foundation to feed a crippling gambling addiction. The numbers were meticulous, the transfers discreet, the lies woven so seamlessly that anyone else might have missed them. But Claire had seen. She had read every single word, felt the cold shiver of betrayal cut through her veins, and for a fleeting moment she had imagined confronting him, screaming, shattering the facade of their perfect engagement. But then she had realized something more terrifying. Confrontation was power for him, for her it could be chaos. Instead, she had made a decision that no one would ever see coming. She would watch, she would wait, and she would strike in silence. By the time the party began, Claire's mask was flawless. She descended the grand staircase in her champagne-colored gown, a soft smile playing on her lips as Ethan's friends and family turned to admire her. She laughed lightly at their jokes, toasted with glasses held high, her every gesture radiating warmth and joy. All the while, her mind replayed the emails like a sinister film reel. How long had he thought he could fool everyone? How many innocent lives had been affected by his greed? Each name on those spreadsheets, each transaction, was a scar etched into the legacy of his family's charity. And yet, to the outside world, Ethan was charming, successful, the golden boy about to marry the woman everyone envied. And yet she held the power to unravel it all with nothing but a few clicks. The thought sent a thrill through her veins. The calm before the storm had never felt so intoxicating. As the night wore on, Ethan floated through the party, unaware that Claire was calculating the perfect moment to strike. She smiled at him across the room, allowed herself to be led into polite conversations with relatives and colleagues, nodded thoughtfully at their praise of his accomplishments. And yet inside, she was a coiled spring, tension building, anticipation humming in her chest. Every toast he received, every handshake, every congratulatory glance, was a bitter reminder of the trust he had shattered. And yet she did nothing, and that was her greatest weapon, invisibility. No one suspected that behind the bright eyes and soft laughter, she was orchestrating a downfall that would be more devastating than any argument, more powerful than any tearful confrontation. Finally, when the clock neared midnight and the party reached its glittering crescendo, she excused herself under the pretense of freshening her makeup, slipping away to the study where the laptop still lay open, the incriminating folder staring at her like a dark jewel. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard, her heart a slow drum in her chest. Then, with the cold precision of someone who had rehearsed this moment 1,000 times in her mind, she forwarded the folder and all its contents to federal authorities. A single email, subject line simple, no signature, no trace, just the truth laid bare. Within minutes, she had confirmation of receipt, and a small, almost imperceptible smile curved her lips. She returned to the party moments later, smiling, laughing, champagne glass in hand, as if nothing had happened. But everything had changed. The first hint came subtly, whispers across the room, the way Ethan's name drew raised eyebrows instead of admiration. Then came the texts, the calls, the impossible phone notifications buzzing against her thigh while she danced and smiled. News alerts. By 2 in the morning, his name was splashed across every major outlet. Fraud. Embezzlement. Charity scam. The carefully curated image of the golden boy, shattered to pieces before the eyes of the world. Claire watched it all, her back pressed to the balcony, the cold wind biting through the delicate fabric of her gown, the sounds of the party fading behind her as she absorbed the enormity of what had happened. She hadn't screamed. She hadn't cried. She hadn't confronted him. She had simply let the truth speak, and it had obliterated him. Later, she found Ethan in the study, pale, shaking, the first tendrils of panic in his eyes as he scrolled through his phone, desperate, trying to understand, to grasp, to negotiate, but it was too late. The smile she offered was almost cruel in its serenity, a delicate, controlled mask over the fury and heartbreak that had nearly consumed her. He pleaded, begged for explanation, for mercy, for a chance to fix the chaos she had unleashed. But she only shook her head, whispered the coldest words she could muster, "I told you everything you needed to know." Then she left him there, surrounded by the ruins of his reputation, the sound of his own guilt echoing back at him like a haunting chorus. Standing alone on the balcony, the city sprawled beneath her like a canvas of possibility. Claire raised her glass to the night sky. She didn't toast to revenge, though it tasted sweet on her tongue. She toasted to herself, to the woman who had found the courage to act not out of anger but out of clarity, precision, and self-preservation. She felt the weight of betrayal lift off her shoulders, replaced with the intoxicating sense of liberation. Her heart, once heavy and fractured by love turned deceit, now beat with a steady rhythm of newfound power. The wind whispered around her, carrying away the ghosts of what could have been, leaving only the thrill of what had been masterfully executed. In the weeks that followed, Claire watched from a distance as Ethan's world unraveled further. Interviews full of stammered denials, friends turning their backs, family feigning disbelief while quietly revoking support, the legal machinery grinding relentlessly toward him. She remained untouchable, unshaken, her reputation untouched by the scandal, her presence at the engagement party recast in memory as poised, elegant, radiant, a stark contrast to the chaos now associated with the man who had once promised her forever. And each time she replayed that night in her mind, each sip of champagne, each flash of the camera, each forced smile and graceful nod, she marveled at the quiet power of patience, observation, and calculated action. The heartbreak of betrayal had been hers, yes, but so had the exquisite victory of silent justice. One evening, months later, Claire sat alone in the same penthouse, the city sprawled below like a living testament to her triumph. She traced the rim of her glass with a finger, thinking back to the engagement party, the night that had changed everything. She could still hear the laughter, the music, the clinking of glasses, and yet beneath it all, she remembered the pulse of suspense, the thrill of secrecy, the heartbreak that had fueled her resolve. And she smiled, not with malice, not with arrogance, but with the quiet knowledge that she had reclaimed her life, her freedom, her power, and done so with elegance, with subtlety, with a brilliance that left no witnesses and no doubts. Claire had learned that sometimes the most devastating justice was not shouted in fury but executed in silence, measured step by measured step, until the world shifted irrevocably under your fingertips. And as she raised her glass one final time, to herself, to the night that had cemented her liberation, she whispered softly into the wind, a whisper only she could hear, "This is only the beginning."